fears grow over the spread of Ebola. Another person is isolated for the virus. Another big problem for Toyota, nearly 2 million vehicles are recalled.
Accounted for more than 100 deaths, one-third of them in Ontario alone.
And the deadly hurricane that wreaked havoc in Toronto. It's the 60th anniversary of Hurricane Hazel. Hi, and welcome to Humber News. I'm Ainsley Smith, coming to you from our newsroom here at Humber College North Campus. Another health worker in Dallas is in quarantine today after testing positive for the deadly Ebola virus. And we've just learned she was on a flight before becoming ill. Health officials are alerting passengers from Monday's Frontier Airlines flight 1143 from Cleveland to Dallas-Fort Worth and asking them to call the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to be monitored. The woman is the second health worker to contract the virus after providing care for the first Ebola patient in the U.S. That man died last week in hospital. The largest nurses union in the U.S. says staff treated him for days without corrective protective gear. The World Health Organization says 7 out of 10 people who contract the disease have died. American airstrikes have intensified near the Syrian-Turkish border after ISIS's advance began to destabilize Turkey. Coalition forces have conducted 21 attacks over the border town of Kobani in the last 48 hours. Kurdish people inside Kobani say the airstrikes have helped, but the rebels are still on attack. The recent attacks on Kobani were the largest since the campaign against ISIS began last month. The pro-democratic protests in Hong Kong has taken another violent turn, and some police officers are under investigation. A standoff began when protesters tried to take control of the tunnel outside the city headquarters. Police clashed with protesters who have been pushing for democracy. Local TV shows what appears to be policemen beating a man in a dark alley. Authorities say the officers have been temporarily suspended. Former Olympian Oscar Pistorius is in court for the third day of sentencing, hearing in the manslaughter of his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp. Pistorius' social worker and probation officer testified that if he's sent to prison, it'll break him. Witnesses included Steenkamp's parents and Pistorius' ex-girlfriend, who described 2 incidents in which she saw him draw a gun. Pistorius could face up to 15 years in prison. The Supreme Court is hearing a new challenge against Canada's ban on physician-assisted suicide. Right to Die advocates say Canada's legal and moral landscape has changed, and laws surrounding assisted suicide need to follow suit. Japanese automotive company Toyota has issued another recall. Toyota is voluntarily recalling nearly 2 million vehicles around the world to address 3 separate defects. One problem involves faulty brake master cylinder that can hinder a brake's performance. The recall mainly addresses issues with Toyota's luxury brand Lexus. Carbon monoxide detectors will be mandatory in all homes in Ontario starting today. The law was passed after an OPP officer and her family died in their home because of an undetected carbon monoxide leak. The odorless, colorless gas can kill up to 50 Canadians every year. Failure to comply with the new law will get you a fine of $235. 60 years ago today, Toronto was hit by one of the biggest natural disasters in living memory. Hurricane Hazel ripped through this city with devastating results. Patrick Valois has this look back.
Today in 1954, Hurricane Hazel caused the Humber River to rise 20 feet higher than it is right now, after over 8 inches of rain pounded the greater Toronto area. Flood expert Lorianne Farrell told Humber News in a phone interview just how devastating Hazel was.
It was the storm of the century, meaning it's the biggest storm we've ever seen. We've never seen anything this big since, or we've never seen it before, at least not on record. And it really colors the way we look at risk management with respect to water.
In total, Hazel claimed 81 lives in Toronto, but one neighborhood along the Humber River got hit especially hard.
Just beside me here is what's left of the old Raymore Bridge, a footbridge that was washed away in the storm. Across the river, 14 homes were swept away, killing 32 residents in just 1 hour. There are no residents of Raymore Drive that are still living here that suffered through the storm, but it's memorials like this one that serve as a reminder of the natural disaster that happened 60 years ago today.
Norma Kent, a resident who lives nearby on Scarlett Road, remembers the storm as a childhood memory.
I just remember opening our basement door and just seeing tons and tons of rain, and my dad kept checking to make sure it wasn't going to end up in the house. And people came to the house and looked for a boat and motor. We had the motor, but unfortunately it was only a 9.9, and so that wasn't strong enough to do anything in the currents.
Farrell told Humber News since Hazel, Toronto has developed floodplain management policies and built new infrastructure to prevent a disaster like this from happening again. Patrick Valois, Humber News.
Just 2 days after traditional Canadian Thanksgiving, there's another harvest celebration happening. It's the Jewish holiday Sukkot, and this year it's being celebrated in style at Nathan Phillips Square at City Hall. Our reporter Adriana Jung is there with all the details and joins us live.
Thanks, Ainsley. I'm here at Nathan Phillips Square, where just an hour ago they announced the winners of the 4th annual Sukkahville Design Competition. Now behind me right here is the winning Sukkah design, Cloud and Light, built by Toronto's very own Daniel Basakiros, Navin Nabil, and Louise Shin. Now I had the chance to speak to the team about their design, and here's what they had to say.
Our Sukkah, the materiality and the other elements it has, they embody this idea that cloud and light or cloud and fire are coexist together and happen at the same time, which is why it lights up at night.
About 100 Sukkah design submissions from all over the world were narrowed down to 8 final designs based on kosher requirements. A sukkah is a temporary structure built by families during the week-long Jewish fall festival, Sukkot. Kahila Residential Program started this competition not only to celebrate Sukkot, but also to raise awareness about affordable housing. Now I'm here with Nancy Singer, Executive Director of the Kahila Residential Program. Now Nancy, how does Sukkahville raise awareness about affordable housing?
Sukkah is a temporary structure, as you just said, and it's symbolic of the 40 years that the Jews wandered in the desert, and we're open to the elements. And even today, probably it's going to rain in another hour, at least it held off. And so if you were in a sukkah, it's part of the roof is open to the sky. It's going to rain, you're going to get wet. So if you are living on the street or you're living in underhoused, not very appropriate accommodation, you're going to feel the elements. So we want people to think about the vulnerability of being in a temporary structure and the need, correlating that to the need for permanent affordable housing.
Now this is the first year that Sukkahville has implemented a registration fee. All proceeds of the event go towards the Kahila Residential Assistance Program. Reporting from Nathan Phillips Square, I'm Adriana Jung. Back to you, Ainsley.
Thank you, Adriana. When's the last time you donated to a good cause? You'll have a chance this week at Humber College. We'll be accepting blood donations from students. Victoria Shaka has more on the story.
Students are lining up for a good cause. The Canadian Blood Services is teaming up with HSF to host a 2-day blood drive at Humber College. Canadian Blood Services manager Mark Malinowski says that most people who are in good general health are eligible to donate.
Any tattoos or piercings are actually okay. A lot of people think you can't have them, but they're okay. You can donate with a tattoo or piercing.
Sheila Chapman has been working with Red Cross and the Canadian Blood Services for 26 years and hands out juice and snacks to the donors.
And kind of keep an eye on them, make sure everyone's feeling well. We hope they are, because we really do appreciate their donations.
The organizers are encouraging students to come forward, no matter their fear of needles.
The nurses are so skilled at taking blood that you hardly notice it at all. Don't be afraid. Just come out and donate. We really need you.
You're doing it to save a life. You know, it's bigger than you. It's bigger than your fear.
This blood drive will be running all day today and tomorrow at the Humber North Campus Concourse. I'm Victoria Shaka, Humber News.
When we come back, we'll tell you what's happening in the world of sports, and Cheyenne Lynch will have your 3-day forecast.
Rain today, but not as much as there was 60 years ago when Hurricane Hazel dropped around 300 millimeters across the GTA. We will stay above seasonal with a high of 18 degrees, dropping down to a low of 10 overnight. We'll have your 3-day forecast and more coming up later on in our show.
But first, an attempt at a Guinness World Record for the most zombies dancing in a Zumba class. To participate, everyone had to dress up, wear zombie makeup, and dance for 15 minutes. Zumba instructors took the stage, leading the crowd to zombie favorites Thriller and The Time Warp.